I'm so wasted.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go. But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday, 7 p.m. edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Got a heck of a show today. Got a fun one for you all this evening. Hope everyone is feeling good. Hope all of the Knick fans in the audience are ready to laugh it off. Look like they had a shot this year. No such luck. New York sports teams just suck. It doesn't make sense why New York sports teams don't win as much as you think they would. They have access to the largest market in the country. You'd think they would be the richest. They could buy the best players. That's what the Yankees used to do. They used to buy the best players, and they used to win. How did New York teams get knocked out by Indiana? Indiana? You get knocked out by Indiana at home? Unbelievable. It's just so weird how, like, these Green Bay, Wisconsin, they beat the New York Jets. They beat the New York Giants. Green Bay, who ever heard of Green Bay, Wisconsin? How do they have the money to field a team? New York, you got all this money to field teams. They can't field winning teams. It's really incredible. It's really incredible.
You're making George Will very happy right now.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
George Will has been on for years about how you don't need to regulate player salaries in baseball because look at New York.
Right. Well, that's a good point. New York doesn't win as much as it should. You can't buy championships. You can't buy, 7 teams, still no luck. I see the chat. Yeah, Yankees are doing much better than we thought this year. Yankees are off to a good start this year. You would think the Knicks would be able to field a winning team. I don't think the Knicks have won a championship in my lifetime. It's just incredible. Nets either. No New York basketball team has won a championship in my lifetime. Madison Square Garden, you can't field a championship team. It just makes no sense.
That is weird, especially since LA and Chicago have
Yeah,
done.
they had these powerhouse teams. The
know.
Bulls were a dynasty. The Lakers were a dynasty. We're the biggest market.
New
We get
York,
no
you got to
dynasty.
go back to the 70s, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, not even no dynasty. Not one championship. Not one championship. Incredible. See, this is like New York sports radio now. You wouldn't think this is a political podcast tuning into it, but this is the small talk tonight. But yeah, just an amazing choke job. Amazing choke job.
Steinbrenner came ripping out from the underworld in the outfield the other night.
Yeah,
spitting
exactly.
fire, speaking in tongues.
Yeah. Just amazing. Really incredible stuff. But like I said, New York sports fans, we are here to lift your spirits. How about a little headbanging? Get in the spirit of things. 1188 in the YouTube and Twitter audience. 1102 in Rumble. So left hand up. There we go.
That's for the really evil motherfuckers over there on Rumble.
Yes, indeed. So thank you all very much for being here this evening. We have a lot to cover, as we always do on Sunday evenings. We have a lot going on this week. I believe we have Anya Parampil for Tuesday afternoon. That is not locked in yet, but almost. Jeremy Lafredo from the Gray Zone. Big Gray Zone week on Wednesday. And then Russ and I are going to be guesting on our friend Savage Joy's shows tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So busy week of stuff to get to.
We're gonna talk about my position in Dow Chemical.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm kidding. I don't have any. Totally kidding.
So yeah, it's gonna be a fun week of programming, and then I think we said Wednesday night at 8 for the patron show, right? I forgot to confirm that with you before, but I think that's what we said. We will be doing a patron show this week, so stay tuned for that. It will not be before Tuesday's show. So we are thinking Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. We will finalize that for sure by Tuesday. So we will let all of our patrons know by Tuesday afternoon. Confirm. It looks like Wednesday, 8 p.m. we will be doing a supporter stream, an exclusive live stream for those who sign up at Patreon, Substack, and or locals.
I can't. I don't want to spring this on you, but I got the No Thanks app. Can I show the screen?
All right.
So this is the No Thanks app. I have not gotten to try it in the wild yet, but this has, you can see kind of, it has a scanner down there, and you hit that and you scan things in the supermarket, and it tells you if it's on the BDS list.
Well, you could test it out by taking a dick pic. That'll come back as being from Israel. So would mine. We could test that out.
No, actually, that's why you can't get a DNA test in Israel. It won't. It will come back as being from Poland.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's get into some news. Russell, you're first.
All right, we're starting off with those wacky Ukrainians today. We have not been doing a lot of stories about our comedian friend Zelensky. Reputedly the inspiration for the Watchmen character, but Alan Moore has never confirmed that. So Ukraine asks U.S. to provide more intelligence on targets in Russia. Now, I looked this up. It looks like the last time we got an average age of the troops in Ukraine was November. So everyone's going with the 43 number, but it's surely higher than that now. Ukraine has asked the Biden administration to provide more intelligence on the position of Russian forces and military targets inside Russia as Ukrainian troops struggle to hold ground in the war, according to U.S. and Ukrainian officials. A group of Ukrainian parliament members also met with members of Congress in Washington to press for the United States to allow Kiev to use American weapons in Russia. Ukraine's requests have become more urgent in recent weeks as Russia has taken advantage of delays in shipments of American weapons and intensified military operations in the Kharkiv region of northeastern Ukraine. Now, I just want to point out here, whenever you get that kind of subtle propaganda, so they're trying to tell you it's because of the Republicans in Congress. If it wasn't for that, the Ukrainians would be swarming Moscow right now. It's only because those weapons were delayed
Right.
that they're being overrun. But White House officials said the administration's longstanding policy remained unchanged. The United States is not encouraging or enabling attacks inside Russia. American officials seeking to avoid escalating the war have insisted they do not want U.S. weapons used in cross-border attacks or their intelligence reports used to target sites in Russia. The latest request came in recent days, officials said, and administration officials have begun to review it. Similar appeals have been turned down in the past. The United States provides some intelligence to Ukraine on Russian forces in Russia, for example, on troops that are massing for potential attacks. Ukraine also has access to commercial satellite imagery that allows it to see Russian activity at major military bases. Now, I just want to point out here, now, of course, I do not want us to change that policy, but it's much more consistent with a policy of throwing Ukrainians into a meat grinder in a war we never intended for them to win than it is with a policy of we're going to defeat Russia.
Right.
To make
it's
a
almost like they
decision
knew
like
all
that.
along this was just a payday for, U.S. weapons manufacturers that was delayed inconveniently by threat to peace on earth, Donald Trump.
Right. If you're really determined to defeat Russia in this war, you would cross that line. But they're not going to cross that line. There's what did Lindsey Graham say when he went over there? This is a cheapest investment, right? The best investment we've ever made.
Right.
Wasn't that Lindsey Graham's the best investment we've ever made? Because it's their sons that are dying, not ours.
Yeah,
They don't want to change that.
Yeah, and look, the whole thing is ridiculous anyway. I mean, yeah, you could say that that wouldn't be a line for us. In other words, we would allow them to go into Russia if we were serious about them winning. But that's like me saying if I could balance a beach ball on my nose, I'd look like a seal. Like, it's not going to happen either way. It was never a winnable war either way.
Right.
Yeah.
On Friday, President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia said his troops were moving into the Kharkiv region to carve out a buffer zone that would make it more difficult for Ukrainian forces to strike the Russian border city of Belgorod. American officials say those strikes have been a major irritant for the Kremlin. General Brown said Russia did not appear to have enough forces or supplies to take Kharkiv. In the face of Russia's incremental gains and Ukraine's critical shortage of troops, NATO allies are considering starting training missions inside Ukraine. Much military training is done at the unit level, and Ukraine has struggled to create a national program. But American officials have cautioned allied governments about sending troops to Ukraine, worried that if Russia targeted them or they were killed in a strike, the alliance could quickly be drawn into a wider war. Similar to the training missions, allied governments are considering loosening their restrictions on Ukraine's cross-border actions, including by providing more intelligence on potential targets and allowing their weapons to be used inside Russia, Western officials said. David Cameron, the British Foreign Secretary, said during a visit to Kiev this month that Ukraine had the right to use weapons provided by London to strike targets inside Russia. Quote, just as Russia is striking inside Ukraine, you can quite understand why Ukraine feels the need to make sure it's defending itself, Mr. Cameron told Reuters. Russia responded to those comments with a threat to strike British military facilities and equipment in Ukraine and beyond. The Kremlin also summoned the British ambassador in Moscow to deliver a message of protest. Elbridge Colby, he was in the Trump administration, a critic of the Biden administration's policies on Ukraine, said the tensions between Britain and Russia over Mr. Cameron's remarks showed the dangers of insufficiently considered escalation. Quote, like in the early years in Vietnam, we are step by step moving toward the erosion of the boundaries that we have set for ourselves, Mr. Colby said. We've been in this for 2.5 years. We're in a war of attrition with Russia, and we're steadily escalating. Is that where we want to be? Well, certainly not, especially when you consider the aforementioned middle-aged army that they're fielding in Ukraine. Now, to be fair, apparently part of the reason for this is they don't have a draft age at 18 because they just recently lowered it to 25. So I'm not sure what it was before. But
I know they recently lowered it from 27 to 25. I don't know if it was 27 at the
Was it
start of the war
27?
or if it was older and they lowered it to 27 at some point. But the latest move down was from 27 to 25.
So that is part of the reason that their forces are so elderly. And actually, I was reading this article and it said, frankly, that Zelensky was worried about wiping out the future of Ukraine by lowering the recruitment age.
Right.
As well he should. But if there is an enormous reservoir of young people to still throw into this meat grinder, this could go on longer than it might appear at first glance.
Yeah, we were going to do a segment on the new Taiwanese president who takes office tomorrow. We figured we would put that off until midweek since he's going to take office tomorrow as of this recording. That's Monday the 20th. And he was very bullish on independence for Taiwan, which was an antagonistic stance towards China. And he has since moderated his rhetoric in anticipation of actually taking office and maybe getting a little bit of cold feet about starting World War III. There has to come a time where we are willing to admit defeat, because the alternative to that is, as Matthew Ho said when he was on this show, the end of the world. I mean, it really could get to that point. And as for this request that we help them go into Russia, now you're talking about a red line past which Putin has floated the idea of a nuclear response. And you have to ask yourself at this point, for what? I mean, really, you should have been asking yourself for what in February of 2022. You should have been saying for what. That's what I said on the day of the invasion. Why did this happen? I didn't know anything about it whatsoever, except I knew that Russia's 3 demands going in, which had nothing to do with conquering Ukraine and taking over Europe. It was they wanted the Crimea, they wanted independence for the separatist regions, and they wanted a neutral Ukraine. I knew enough to know that those 3 demands could have easily been met to avoid this whole thing ever starting. So, of course, you can't get to a point where now you're talking about going into Russian territory and crossing a nuclear red line for a war that everybody knows by this point has been lost. Almost everybody knew it had no chance to succeed from the outset. That's what was so cynical about this and so evil about this. I've seen videos, we've commented on this show often about how we don't see nearly as many videos of the carnage from that war as we do out of Gaza, occasionally out of the West Bank, tragically and horribly. But, you see videos of Ukrainian soldiers making videos, that they send home to their mothers. I want to come home. I don't understand what I'm fighting for. What is this all about? I mean, it's a real tragic situation for the ordinary people of Ukraine, which is why it always made sense to me that the pro-Ukrainian position, and by Ukrainian, I don't mean Zelensky, I mean pro-Ukrainian as in, the people, posture that's in the interest of the ordinary people of Ukraine, exactly, should have been that this should have never started, and that, of course, now that the writing has been on the wall for quite some time, we have to wind it down. And now, as Taiwan gets a new government in place, we'll see if any of this posture sort of tones down a bit.
I hate to say it. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't think so. There are moments in history where stress lines and lines of conflict just come to a head. And this just feels like one of those moments in history. And of course, what's so terrifying about it is that World War III in a world with nuclear weapons that everyone has been dreading since the end of World War II seems to be on the way. And it's anyone's guess if you're going to be able to keep the nuclear genie in the bottle and limit a conflict like that to conventional forces. You might be able to for a while. What do people do who are on the verge of losing that war, who have nuclear weapons? Do they not use them? Right. Do they accept a defeat instead of using them? with Taiwan, we won't get too into that, but the world is dependent on their semiconductor factories, and that's part of what a lot of people believe has kept the Chinese from invading. Because they blow those factories, it is going to devastate technology around the world for years to come. It will be impossible because those factories are so complicated to build. It will be impossible to ramp back up for many, many years to what they're building and what they're supplying. So there's that. With Ukraine, the idea, Putin's not dumb. Whatever you think of him, it's a bitch to occupy a hostile people. He didn't want that headache. The eastern part of Ukraine, they're not hostile because they're fucking Russian. Right. That's what he wanted. The Russian speaking, who would not have been an occupied subject, resentful population. They would have been Russian people brought back into Russia. And yes, the rest of Ukraine, neutral. The idea, well, he'll start there and then he's gonna roll into Poland. He has no ambitions like that. I mean, if he thought he could, I guess he would, but he's not that stupid.
I don't even know why he would. Why?
He does seem to wax nostalgic about the old Russian Empire. So if he thought that he could really do it and it was going to be worth the blood and the treasure, and he could actually feasibly incorporate the old Eastern Bloc into a renewed greater Russia, would he do it? Sure, but it goes back to your metaphor. If you could balance a ball on your nose, it'd be a seal. Like, right. I don't think he's dumb enough to think there's a world where that would work.
Right, it's not working. It's not possible.
Like right. Vladimir Putin fantasy camp, I think he would like that. Right. I don't think it goes beyond that.
Yeah, it's not even worth thinking about. It's impossible. Right. All right. Eric Rousseau, thanks for the $1 over on Rumble. Jake, our producer, is in the booth tonight fielding Rumble Rants, so send those if you got those. Rumble Rants and Super Chats help keep us afloat here, so thank you for those. Eric Rousseau, here's friend of the show, Jerry Seinfeld. What's this obsession people have with books? They put them in their houses like they're trophies. What do you need it for after you read it? See? Do a good impression.
I mean, in this line of work, that's actually not true. You do actually go back and reference books.
In this line of work, you actually do have to go back and check things. Yes, indeed. And that's true in most cases, though. $1 Million Trooper. Apparently, the lads don't know about the salary cap and profit sharing. Well, there's a salary. Is there a salary cap in baseball? I guess they just instituted that, right? There's the tax past a certain salary, but I don't think there's a strict salary cap. I think in NBA and NFL there might be. But either way, the argument
NFL,
against
there definitely is.
Yeah.
But not in baseball.
Right. But
George Will's one of those baseball geeks.
Right. Well, either way, I mean, even if there were no salary cap in the NBA, the argument against it is that these teams that should have all this money to buy whatever players they want, they don't tend to win. There's something about sports that's very American. A lot of heartland teams tend to do well, Ohio State, Indiana, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Alabama, these are good sports towns. Maybe because there's nothing else much going on. Who the hell knows?
I was thinking that.
Yeah, that could be the reason. New York, you got all these museums and stuff. There's stuff pulling other people's capital away, right? Nebraska, Alabama, Oklahoma, they have these great college teams because the college team, that's your life. That's like the church and the college football team. Those are the two social institutions, that hold the society together.
When I was living in Chicago, I knew a woman, I don't even remember how, but I helped her move. It wasn't romantic. I helped her move from Pella, Iowa to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And all the houses were empty the night I was there because the big high school bonfire rally for the football team was happening. Oh, yeah. So everyone was there. And then after that, the kids literally came and cruised the town square. I literally saw kids cruising the town square. I was like, okay, so this is like a John Cougar video, but I thought he was talking about when he was a kid. Right. Like, they still do this shit out here? Apparently, yes. Yes.
$1 Million Trooper. George Will was serving his corporate masters while rubbing one out to an Ayn Rand. Oh, thank you, $1 Million Trooper. Appreciate that. All right. We will take more Rumble rants and super chats as the evening progresses for sure. Let's go on now to segment number 2. An election development of sorts here. Cardi B, bone dry for Joe Biden 2024. Cardi B is a gravel pit for Joe Biden 2024. Just a pouch of sand. That's going to be the follow-up. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
She's got Megan Thee Stallion already signed.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Bone dry for Biden.
It's a barren wasteland for Joe Biden 2024. She voted for him in 2020, but Cardi B says she's experienced layers and layers of disappointment since Joe Biden became president. I feel like people got betrayed, the WAP rapper said in an interview with Rolling Stone published Thursday. Citing high living costs and what the music publication described as her disappointment with domestic and foreign mismanagement, the 31-year-old performer said, "It's just like, damn, y'all not caring about nobody." Then it really gets me upset that there's solutions to it. There is a solution. I know there's a solution because you're spending billions of dollars on any fucking thing, Cardi B, who was born Belcalis Almanzar, said, expressing concern that she could be blackballed for speaking about the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. Well, you just said enough there. If you'll get blackballed just for saying you'd get blackballed. So best of luck to you. Everybody go download her stuff. Got to support Macklemore and now Cardi B. Cardi B said, America don't pay for endless wars for countries that we've been going through shit for a very long time, for countries that have been going through shit for a very long time. There's countries where kids are getting killed every single day, but because the U.S. won't benefit from that country, they won't help, she said. I don't like that America has this superhero cape on. We never did things to be superheroes. We did things for our own convenience. The Grammy Award winner, who's known for being outspoken on political and social issues, said in 2020 that she woke up early to vote for Biden. She had initially backed Senator Bernie Sanders in the Democratic presidential primary before endorsing Biden when the Vermont Independent exited the race. I'm just going to go with Joe Biden because I cannot see the next step of America being ran by number 45, the New York-born music artist said at the time, referring to then President Trump. Last year, she declared she wouldn't be voting this November in the White House race, calling out the Biden administration for sending foreign aid to fund 2 wars amid New York City budget cuts. I'm not endorsing no fucking presidents no more, because how is there a $100 million budget cut in New York City for fucking schools, library, police, safety, and sanitation, she said last November. In her interview with Rolling Stone, Cardi B knocked both Biden and Trump, saying, I don't fuck with either one. Based Cardi B there going into 2024. And, this is something that, I thought about this when I read this article, when I saw that, she's not backing Biden. Obviously, Macklemore makes a point in his song to say he's not backing Joe Biden. The Democrats have no cool factor this year whatsoever. They at one time they did have one during the Obama races. They definitely had them, all the celebrities who people genuinely thought were hip and cool were backing Obama. 2016 didn't really work for a lot of us, but they tried. They gave it the old college try. You had Katy Perry at the convention. You had Jay-Z and Beyonce on the stump, right? 2020, there's only so much of a cultural moment you can produce when everyone's sort of locked in their house, right? But they tried. And it was the cool thing to do to go and vote against Trump, to dethrone Trump that year. 2004, you had, Green Day. You had the Vote for Change tour. You had a little bit. The Democrats have no celebrities. It is uncool to back Joe Biden this year. That's another thing that's going to hurt them, right? And you talk about young people. Yes, a lot of the young people are not so superficial as to be like, well, shit, if Jay-Z's not telling me to vote for Joe Biden, I'm not going to. But some of them are. Is Taylor Swift going to come out and endorse Biden right now? He has none of that. He has none of that going for him this time. That's one thing that I noticed. And now you can scratch Cardi B off the list.
Are we sure we want to book Lizzo?
Yeah,
well,
right,
it'll take focus off your own history of abuse, sir. I see your point. I see your point. All right, I'm gonna start a sentence in a way I never thought in my life I would say start a sentence. What I love about Cardi B is I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. But no, man, look, it's not my kind of music. But she's always been fucking based. You know, I mean, going back to the Sanders campaigns, most people at her level of celebrity and wealth, they get out of touch. They just get out of touch. I mean, you look at Beyonce, come on, man.
Right.
But
Right.
she's in that world. She's in that. Oh yeah, I saw Sir Elton at Fashion Week last week. These people don't know nothing about groceries. Somehow she has managed to maintain that connection. Even when she was talking on behalf of Bernie Sanders, she sounded very genuine, like she got it. That's what was so striking about it. You know, she didn't sound, even a lot of celebrities who might be taking a position you like, they sound like they mean well, but even then they don't really get it. They don't really get it. They're too rich to really get it. She somehow has maintained that connection to people, and she really sounds like she gets it. Her finger seems to always be on the pulse. That's what always strikes me when she speaks on politics.
Well, you know, there are certain like formulations that working class people come up with instantly. Like when we're out on the streets canvassing for Jose Vega, you kind of notice that. Like, hey, why are we spending all this money funding two wars at once when we're cutting the sanitation budget here? Like, that's something a working person would be very conscious of. Beyonce is not going to have a dollars and cents approach to politics like that. It's going to be about cultural signaling, which candidate represents who I am more than the other, right? Assuming no one's going to be a complete representation. How do I channel myself, right, through a candidate? And how do I endorse a candidate as a form of self-expression? Not as a form of, okay, crunching the numbers, dollars and cents, war and peace. There's a sort of earthiness about the way working people analyze these questions, and the way she talks about it there matches exactly that. I don't understand why we have $100 million budget cut here in New York City when we're sending all this money to Israel and Ukraine.
Right. And that's something you usually would not hear from a figure like Cardi B, just because of her economic reality.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
She has managed to maintain that kind of like a working class person's direct perception. 2 + 2 = 4. It's very simple. It's very direct.
You can count on one hand the number of celebrities who would even know about a sanitation budget cut.
Of course.
Like, they don't even pay attention to that for the most part.
I gotta say, anybody who's been watching the show knows I've been looking more at this cultural Congress kind of stuff, and I'm reading Weird Tales of the Canyon, which kind of very strongly suggests intelligence agency connections to the counterculture in the 60s. I'll say this. I mean, I don't know about then. I'm digging into that. I will say now, I just don't believe there are no talented people who are not completely vapid and whose work isn't just totally meaningless and lacking in any real political message. So I look at somebody like Taylor Swift. I mean, she's not like a great talent in the history of musicians and songwriters. So like, why is she at that level? And more, I'm saying, yeah, they put her there. They put her there. Like not in quite the way the Republicans mean, like to help the Democrats. But yeah, at the very least, the same way that that the media, that the establishment, the corporations elevate politicians who are going to serve them well. They elevate celebrities who are going to serve them well also. And they elevate musicians who are going to serve them well. And again, I think there's always been the assumption, well, if it's the Beatles and Hamburg, it's just good. And that's too good for the establishment to crush it. I mean, maybe that was true at one time. I don't even know if that's true. It's not true now, man. It's not true now. When you look at how music and culture is created now, they have so much control over distribution that to get to Taylor Swift's level, they have to be behind you. And they're not going to get behind. Like somebody like Cardi B, she didn't make her career talking this shit. She started talking this shit later.
Right.
It's too late now. She slipped through. But in general, why is Beyonce? And Beyonce, I would say, is more talented than Taylor Swift. But what? There's nobody as talented as Beyonce with something to say?
I mean, she's a pretty good singer.
No, I'm saying she's more talented.
Yeah.
But what?
Yeah.
There's nobody out there with a meaningful message? What? There's nobody who's not like, Taylor Swift double album about, crying in the shower, whatever the fuck she's doing, like fucking broken-hearted ex-girlfriend porn. Like nobody's doing something more meaningful who is at a high musical level, higher than hers.
Yeah, no, there's plenty. I mean, I could think of some artists off the top of my head that are really quite good, but that don't have the reach. And now, in a sense, it's music is more available to everyone than ever before. For whatever $5, $6, $7 a month, you can get unlimited songs streamed to your phone, right? So everything is available to you. But you really have to make a point to seek good stuff out.
Right,
and I find it like really hard to discover good music now because none of it is given to you. The homepage of the Apple Music screen is all garbage. All of it. You really have to dig deep. You have to find artists, more obscure artists that you like, and then hope that based on that, the algorithm recommends this other artist that you like. But it's really a journey. Like the only artist now who has a kiosk with their CDs featured in like Target is Taylor Swift.
Right.
Like, that's it. Even the new Beyonce album I didn't see in hard copy form in a department store. I went to Target the other day. Taylor Swift has a whole kiosk of hard copy CDs. No one's buying that shit anymore except the Taylor Swift albums. She sells physical albums. She's the only one.
And I'm sorry. I hear that music. It's like you might as well buy a CD of the best fast food jingles of all time. Like there's nothing going on there, man. So how do you get to that level? Like how much can you, if you're just presentable, right? Reasonably attractive, and they can do enough with auto-tune to make you sound reasonably decent, and you just do this very formulaic hook that people's brains are programmed to pick up. Can you just make a superstar? I mean, I look at Taylor Swift and the answer is yes. Like, look, Madonna, that was never my kind of thing, but she had something going on that I could recognize.
Oh, yeah.
But with this, it's like, did they just make that? Like, did they just make that in the lab, so to speak? And just, this will keep them distracted. This isn't going to get anyone riled up, that's for sure.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. Chris Shipley, thanks for the $20. That's very kind of you. Search for downed helicopter with Iranian president. Oh, yeah, we were supposed to give you guys an update on that. We blew it. But, yeah, there is really no update, right? They haven't found him yet. So, yeah, that's quite the story. I mean, we'll cover that when there's an update on Tuesday. But, yeah, that's weird, wild stuff, as they say. Truth Seeker, thanks for the $9.99. DD, please ask Chengu of YouTube channel Aniler Starret Talk with Chengu, a Taiwanese communist rap artist, to be on your show. That is interesting. Thank you, Truth Seeker. I will check that out. Sounds like a Stephen King novel. Thank you, Philip Blair. Jill Stein, party. Thank you, Frontier Studies. Appreciate that. All right, let's go. What else we got here? Old Stoner, 1969. Every day I wake up and check to see if Ukraine armed forces have collapsed. Every day I'm sad they haven't, as I just want the killing to stop. Yeah, it's a horrible tragedy. It really is. Rebel Cat Tom, don't forget those scumbag, douchebag tote bags. I have to see if our merch people will actually let us do tote bags. But yeah. I think they do. I think
it's a good idea. Well, no, what I've been waiting on is we had the graphic designer we're working with. We have to follow up with him, right?
Yeah.
The guy who did the poster. Like once we have a redesigned logo, then we can go. Then we can get our neon signs. Keaton can stop having his high school photo backdrop.
Yeah.
We have plans. We have things in the works, folks.
The wheels are in motion. The wheels are in motion, as Jerry Seinfeld promised Babu Bhatt when his immigration papers got lost in the mail. The wheels are in motion. You told the wheels are in motion. There is no motion. Oh, it's such a shame that guy's such an asshole. Really is. Really sucks. Oh, well. Guess I'll have to start watching The King of Queens. All right. You're up again.
We might as well just watch The Honeymooners.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
It's the actual King of Queens. All right. What am I doing now? Oh, Youngkin.
Virginia.
Our friend Youngkin. Where is that?
Right down
Where
there.
is
It's
it?
the last,
Throw it up, throw it
last
up
slide. Yeah, here it is.
All right. Okay. So our friend Glenn Youngkin. All right. There's a lot of interesting elements to that, but I'll save them. He did some really interesting work this week as governor in regards to his vetoes, including a Confederate tax veto that I'm going to get into a little. All right, so Governor Glenn Youngkin vetoed bills meant to ensure access to contraceptives and close tax loopholes for Confederate heritage groups Friday night, continuing a record-breaking veto spree that also nixed measures to ban guns from psychiatric hospitals.
He is feeling it this week. This guy is just on a spree. He has the wet ass pussy this week. He took it off Cardi B.
He is wet for guns and psych wards.
Yeah, right.
He gets his panties wet for the daughters of the Confederacy.
He should use that song as his, campaign song when he comes on, his intro music. He's on a roll. He's got momentum.
He is. He's got the big mo.
Yes.
Remind parents to store weapons out of their children's reach. Because why would you not want to remind parents of that? Acting on bills that the General Assembly sent back to his desk in April without his proposed amendments, Youngkin signed 7 and vetoed 48, taking his veto total for the year to 201, more than the 120 that the previous record holder, Democrat Terry McAuliffe, issued over 4 years as governor. Youngkin's moves solidify his record as a hard-right Republican, something often obscured by the governor's upbeat image and ability to avoid taking action on Democratic priorities until this year, Senate Majority Leader Scott A. Sorovell said Saturday. Before Democrats assumed full control of the General Assembly in January, a Republican-held House blocked many of the Democratic-controlled Senate's bills from reaching his desk. Quote, I told many people that after this session, we would find out where the governor really stood because he's been so opaque trying to maintain his friendly, suburban, moderate basketball dad image, he said, but now we know. Youngkin touted his desire for, quote, compromise on collective priorities as he announced his actions, which wrapped up work on this year's 60-day legislative session. He sounded almost wistful about having to resort to vetoes in some cases.
Okay, he vetoed a bill. Let me just take a pause there because we compromise on collective priorities. Vetoes a bill that says that parents have to be recommended, and reminded of how to safely store guns so their kids don't get them. You vetoed that bill, which means that had majority support, and you said no. That's a compromise? Who are you representing there?
Okay,
God damn it, no big government's going to tell me where I can store my gun or where I can't. I massage my prostate with my shotgun. You ever massage your prostate with a Remington 870? You'll blow a load so big you thought you spilled a skillet full of sausage gravy all about your bed. Don't tell me I got to store where you want me to store. Just a recommendation. A recommendation. That's all.
Apparently, the libs don't know that the only thing that'll shrink a man's prostate after 50 is gunpowder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, that was the least crazy veto of
the psych ward thing
the
was
ones
pretty,
that I'm covering.
Yeah.
The Confederate one, as you know, I have personal photos to comment on that. I thought the Confederate one was actually probably the craziest. That was probably the craziest because he's comparing it to free Tibet license plates.
Yeah.
By vetoing our legislation, Governor Youngkin is now on the record agreeing with the extremists in his party, including Donald Trump, who conflate contraception with abortion, said Senator Ghazala F. Hashmi. And Delegate Marcia S. Sia Price said in a written statement about a pair of identical bills they sponsored that would have put a right to obtain and use contraception into Virginia law. Youngkin had proposed changing the bills to simply express the sentiment of the legislature that people have access to contraception under federal law. So basically, under federal law, they have access to contraception. He wanted to reduce it to saying, yep, we have access under federal law.
Yeah. And it's true. This guy won as a moderate, despite being pretty ideologically right-wing, because he didn't accept Trump's endorsement. He won without Trump's help. But very famously, He rejected Trump's help. He didn't want him coming to speak for him, which was the politically smart thing to do back in, 2021? But he's not moderate, as you could see.
Right. And we'll see. I'm going to talk a little bit about how he won, and how he won reinforces the idea that that was actually very smart politics, because he really won off traditionally Democrat constituencies. Right. Hashmi and Price have said those amendments would have gutted the bills, rendering them meaningless if federal law changed. Letting his amendments die without a vote in April, the House and Senate sent the bills back to the governor in their original form, forcing him to choose between signing or vetoing them. Let me be crystal clear. I support access to contraception, Youngkin's written statement said. However, we cannot trample on the religious freedoms of Virginians. I mean, you don't like it, don't take it.
Yeah, you have the religious freedom not to take it.
Yeah, don't use it. Separately, in his veto statement, Youngkin and the legislation failed to include adequate conscience clause protections for providers, and also undermines the fundamental right of parents to make decisions concerning their children's upbringing and care. Other bills vetoed by Youngkin include, so this to me is the craziest here. Youngkin vetoed a pair of identical bills that would have eliminated state tax loopholes for the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the Confederate Memorial Literary Society, and the Stonewall Jackson Memorial, Inc. The groups are exempt from state recordation taxes and real and personal property taxes, an issue brought to the General Assembly by a Virginia Beach high school student after her lawyer father discovered the loophole in an obscure part of state law. Good for her. Youngkin had sought to duck the issue with an amendment requiring that the bills be voted on again next year and calling for a study. I don't know where we actually stand on this whole Confederate thing. I understand there are some Virginians still waiting on the shore for reinforcements. This conflict has not been resolved yet. After the legislator rejected that, he pulled out his veto pen. Quote, narrowly targeting specific organizations to gain or lose such tax exemptions sets an inappropriate precedent, he wrote in his veto statement. Choosing winners and losers is imprudent and undermines the tax system's fairness. I mean, that's a really unfortunate choice of words when you're talking about a Confederate organization's tax breaks.
Choosing winners and losers.
I think history has chosen the winners and losers there, Mr. Youngkin.
No, we wouldn't want to take sides on that, or
on that pro or anti-Confederacy. Youngkin also vetoed a bill that would have banned the further issuance of state license plates commemorating the sons of Confederate veterans or General Robert E. Lee. In his veto statement, Youngkin noted that the state offers so many specialty plates, including those advocating both sides of some hotly contested issues, that they cannot be construed as endorsements by the Commonwealth. The department also offers specialty plates for debated social issues, this is a quote from him, such as advocacy for fox hunting, coal, or internet infrastructure, he wrote. In some instances, the plates represent overtly political statements, including pro-abortion, pro-life, for and against the Second Amendment, and even international relations concerning Tibet. You know what I don't hear in that list? a single thing that represents support for a war that was fought to defend slavery. And don't give me that fucking states' rights shit. You know why? Because I've been down in that neck of the woods. Now, for those of you who are from the South, the pictures I'm about to show, I assume are not going to shock you. As a Yankee, I could not believe what I was seeing. So just a short interlude. I'm eventually going to do a segment on this, so I don't want to step on that too much. But just to give you an idea of what groups like this do down there, in New Orleans, a city that I believe is 80% black, 80% black, is the Confederate Museum. There is a museum dedicated to the Confederacy. Appropriately enough, it's right off what was known until recently, and frankly, in popular parlance, still known as Lee Circle, where there's a big column that until about 3 years ago had a big statue of Robert E. Lee on it. Yeah, so this is it. So you can see now when I went to it, part of the reason I was shocked was it says Civil War Museum, right? So I was expecting a Civil War museum, but it's actually, it goes by another name too. I think it's Museum of the Confederacy or something. So here you go.
That's like when Fox News says fair and balanced. You know, that's what they mean by
yes.
Civil War Museum.
No, outside it says Civil War Museum to trick all the Yankees.
Yeah.
Like me, who had, I couldn't even imagine that you would have a museum in this day and age that has Jefferson Davis's personal effects lovingly displayed as if he's a great man to be honored. So this is the main hall of that museum. Now here's some of the things you can buy there. These are mugs of Confederates. This you can also buy CSA memorabilia, belt buckles, that kind of thing. Here are portraits of Confederate leaders. Here's Jefferson Davis being quoted like a great man. Right now I kind of collect mugs in my journeys, but I didn't want to put money in their pockets, not even as an oddity. So I didn't buy one. But you
that'd
can
also
see,
be an odd one to just sip on the show casually without realizing it.
Well, I would never use it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like just as evidence of what's that? But I was like, I don't even want to give them the $10. But yeah, so this is the kind of organization that still exists in parts of the South. I had no idea that until I went to this museum that you could still have something like this in this day and age. And this is in a city that is 80% black. So you want to see the power of white people. Anyone who says we're post-racial, we're post-racism, structural racism doesn't exist. Look at this. This still exists in a city that is 80% black. This museum is allowed to exist. So just a little digression there. This is the kind of thing that Youngkin feels should get a tax break because he doesn't want to take sides on the issue.
Right. Don't want to pick winners and losers.
Don't want to pick winners and losers. Youngkin vetoed identical bills requiring school boards around the state to notify parents every year of their responsibility to safely store firearms in the home. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Quote, this proposed legislation is unnecessary for responsible parents and ineffective in persuading the irresponsible, Youngkin wrote. All right, so listen, Glenn, I'm the kind of person who's not really inclined to wear a seatbelt, but because in New York, they have made the penalty so strict for not wearing a seatbelt, I wear a fucking seatbelt. I'm in the habit now of wearing a seatbelt. They broke me. I wear a seatbelt. I promise you, if you okay, so you feel that would be ineffective? You know, I could kind of see that. Why don't you suggest something stricter? Why don't you suggest something like you get fined if you have children in the house and don't properly store your firearm? That might work.
That'd be picking winners and losers.
That'd be picking winners and losers. Youngkin, who won the executive mansion on a theme of parental rights in K-12 education, said the bills had, quote, a singular focus on one parental responsibility, which applies to a subset of parents, omitting other legal obligations like providing an environment free of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Don't see what the one has to do with the other. Youngkin vetoed a pair of bills that would have banned firearms from hospitals providing psychiatric services. I mean, what could possibly go wrong in the psych ward with firearms? Youngkin's veto message said hospitals already have the authority to ban guns from their premises, allowing them to have violators charged with trespassing. Yeah, okay, we understand that a hospital can do that. The question is, should all psychiatric hospitals with mentally ill people in them not be allowed to have guns in them? Right. So that any psych hospital with an irresponsible administration that would think it would be a good idea to have firearms inside will not have that option.
Right.
Youngkin also vetoed a pair of identical bills to prohibit this. I really don't get to prohibit the sale or possession of ghost guns, weapons that have no serial number and are often made of plastic or other parts that can pass through medical detectors, otherwise known as the anti-Mossad bill. Youngkin's veto statement said the measure might affect sellers of industrial parts, such as aluminum, that become part of those guns. That one, I don't know what the fuck he's even talking about. It's going to affect the... I mean, obviously, this is just an excuse for the gun nuts to keep the gun nuts happy. But
that's what's crazy about this. Yeah, I just want to add something before we go to our last two pieces for this, is that these are vetoes, which means that these laws pass through the state Congress. Now, we know Virginia is a state that has been trending bluer and bluer as of late, which is how these laws got passed in the first place. Now, Glenn Youngkin won in 2021, as Russell will explain in just a moment, by convincing a lot of traditional Democratic voters to vote for him because of some overreach on the Democratic side and combined with just a truly atrocious candidate that the Democrats ran against him, Terry McAuliffe, a lifelong Bill Clinton bagman, basically. But he won by convincing moderate Democrats to vote for him, and now these laws are being passed as a reflection of the will of a state that has trended bluer over the past 15 years. This is just a true head scratcher from a political, standpoint. Like I don't understand what the calculation in his mind is. It's not like you are it's not like you're negotiating with the other side here. You're taking out a veto pen and taking these truly extreme measures to veto laws that were passed as a result of popular will in the state having shifted dramatically over the last 15 years. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. It seems like he's overstepping his mandate.
Yeah.
Because his mandate was a very thin mandate, and that was a mandate based on something that the best reporting on how Youngkin became the governor of blue trending Virginia in 2021.
Right.
Is a 4-part series that Matt Taibbi did under his Substack Racket, Loudoun County, Virginia, A Culture War in 4 Acts. Now, Loudoun County has Thomas Jefferson High School, which is the #1 ranked public high school in the country. So people who care very deeply about the education of their children, namely immigrants, moved to Loudoun County en masse, particularly Asian immigrants, particularly Indian immigrants. P.S. A lot of DEI, and I'm gonna say anti-racism rather than critical race theory to be clear what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about this Ibram X. Kendi, the only way to solve racism is with racism kind of thinking. That got into the school, and as it does everywhere that it rears its head, it created division, hostility, anger. Ironically, you're having these racist arguments being made but it wasn't really the white people who were dominating the attendance at Thomas Jefferson. It was Asians. It was Asians who were mostly getting in, rather than whites. So they started, they hired a kind of DEI consultancy firm for $500,000 that, amongst its insane recommendations, recommended that children snitch, basically, if they hear anything that they perceive as in any way racist, basically creating like a junior Stasi. They very famously had a slave catching exercise. Presumably the people who put it together meant well, but you got to imagine how stupid a person would have to be not to see how that could go wrong. But this created, and also the gender stuff was coming up there. And all of it just built up into a huge groundswell of support for Youngkin in Loudoun County, who promised to restore parental rights. And Terry McAuliffe, if you remember, he did not help himself on the debate stage by saying he didn't think parents should have any say over their children's education. Maybe one of the worst gaffes in the history of politics. I think he lost the campaign right there. Like, that statement, that was it. That was everything parents feared. So I'm not doing it justice. Read this 4-part series if you're curious about it. It's really, really fucking crazy. As long as we have had this show, I have spoken out against those cultural experiments, not because I am not in empathy with the goal, which frankly, I think most of these people are grifters who run these consultancies. I don't think they actually have a goal of resolving racism. I think they have a goal of perpetuating racial division because that's their bread and butter. And that's my issue with it. If I thought it worked, I would shut up about it. But my argument has always been, if we don't dissociate the left from these people, and if we don't shut them down, you get Youngkins, you get DeSantis's, and what these people are going to do with power, you are not going to like.
Well, you see it here.
This is it. This is proving the point. This is what I have been speaking out about for as long as we've had this show. I have warned, as long as we have had this show, if you keep talking this shit, if you keep taking this approach to these questions, you're going to revive these cultural conservatives who had been a laughingstock, who had been driven out of the public square. You're going to re-empower them, reinvigorate them, and what they are going to do is going to set us back decades. And you see it right here. Now, on the other side, on the more economic side, Virginia, under both Republicans and Democrats, was long the worst state for workers' rights in the nation. So getting away from the cultural question, you also have a demoralized working class with no particular motivation to come out for Democrats. Now, to be fully accurate, Virginia made the top of the Oxfam list in 2018 and 2019. Now, when the Democrats took over, they did make some typical Democrat reforms. And what I mean by that is tiny incremental reforms. They did increase the minimum wage from $7.25 to $12, and they empowered the government to negotiate union contracts with public employees. But they did not repeal the right to work law, although there was some attempt made at that. So you did have some Democrats get in and try to improve it somewhat. But it's the workers in Virginia are caught in a typical Democrat-Republican dynamic. Do you want the one who's going to break your knees or the one who's going to cut off your legs? Because a lot of the people who stopped them from repealing the right to work law were the blue dog Democrats, of which they have a surfeit in the Virginia legislature. It wasn't just Republicans versus Democrats. That's how the state became that much of a shithole. It's still not great. Now it's number 27. It's ranked number 27 for workers' rights.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's that's a really fascinating story, and just, a great reminder that anti-Trump Republicans are not necessarily the moderates. And also, to look back on how that state got there, now they are stuck with a governor who for some reason feels a need to, I don't know, fall on his sword for a base that is becoming increasingly irrelevant statewide. So we'll see how that works out. He's not up for re-election this year. I believe he's up next year, 2025.
Yeah, see, that's the other side of it. I agree with you. You got elected partly because South Asians flipped on you who always vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be like, yeah, no, guns and psych wards up to the hospital.
Right. Oh, the law says that they can't have them there? Well, fuck the law. I'll veto the law, right? Yeah. Seems like quite the move. All right, folks. We have Jake in the booth tonight. Jake, can you hit our Patreon scroll for me, please? And thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. If you like what we do here, you can help us do more of it by going to patreon.com/do-dissidents and becoming a member. Our members are the backbone of the program. We do provide perks in exchange for membership. One of them is your name up in lights here on the show notes. You also get call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which are every Sunday evening. And check the calendar. Today's Sunday, which means, yes, we will be doing a Q&A after party over exclusively on Rumble after the conclusion of this show. So our paid members through Patreon, Substack, and Locals will have call-in access to that Q&A. We also do 2 exclusive patron streams per month, members-only supporter streams. We are going to be doing one this week, probably Wednesday. We will finalize that for Tuesday's show, where we will announce that officially. It's looking like Wednesday at 8 p.m. is going to be our supporter stream. So you can go to Patreon, Substack, or Locals, dudissidents.locals.com. We have 2,511 here in the YouTube and Twitter chat. 4,712 over on Rumble tonight. So if you are watching on Rumble and you want to join our Locals, hit that bright red join button underneath the video player of the screen and become a member. It really helps us out a great deal. Also, folks, we want to plug a little event coming up in New York City. No, not our live show. Our live show is sold out already. Live show June 9th in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. That is sold out, but tickets are now on sale for a fundraiser that will take place with yours truly, Russell Dobular, Do Dissidents, Jose Vega, and our friend Jimmy Dore. So we will be doing a fundraiser for Jose Vega in the Bronx, New York City, on June 6th. All right, so that is June 6th, and the tickets for that are now on sale. Jake created a hyperlink for us, dudissidents.com/Vega fundraiser. Now, to be clear, that hyperlink is for your convenience so that you have a neat and easy hyperlink where you can go to get tickets for this fundraiser. dudissidents.com/Vega fundraiser. To be clear, this is for Jose Vega's campaign events. This has nothing to do with raising money for us or our show. We are not making a dime off of this show. We have to create a hyperlink with our website because Jake only has access to dudissidents.com, and we want to make it easy for you guys to get tickets. So Jimmy will tweet out a different link for this, I'm assuming this week on his show when he formally announces this. I know he's doing a live show tonight in LA. I don't think he's streaming tomorrow because he's got the live show tonight. So I'm assuming he'll announce this Wednesday. There'll be a different link. This is just so it's easy for you guys. If you want to buy tickets right now, dudissidents.com/Vega fundraiser. It's going to be, where is it? Hunts Point? I don't even know where this fucking place is. Where is it?
It's in the Bronx.
It's in the Bronx, yeah. The information's there. It's on Eventbrite.
Well, this is why we need Jose. You know what we call the Bronx in New York? The Forgotten Borough.
The Forgotten Borough. 910 Hunts Point
That's why
Avenue.
they need him there.
That's where I thought it was. I thought it was on Hunts Point Ave. So, yeah, we're going to be doing a show. Jose's going to give a campaign speech. Jimmy's going to do a comedy set. And then we're all going to do a panel together afterwards. So the show will run from 8 to 10. It's a fundraiser for Jose's campaign. So if you want tickets, that's the link right there, dudissidents.com/Vega fundraiser. Jimmy will have more details on this as the week moves on. But thank you guys very much, and we hope to see you there. If you didn't get a chance to get tickets to our live show, if that sold out on you and you want to come see us anyway, just a few days before, that's going to be June 6th. It's a Thursday at 8 p.m. in the Bronx. $1 Million Trooper. Go ahead.
I just want to warn this fella. Don't come for the hookers, man. That's back in the day.
Yeah.
He's talking about that. What was that? An HBO documentary, Hookers at the Point?
Yeah, I don't remember. $1 Million Trooper, are you spun up on this Iranian helicopter crash? No pressure, but hate to see you get scooped by Kyle Kulinski. Yeah, did he do a segment on that? Did he beat us to it? Like I said, we'll follow up if they find it.
Yeah, we're not covering it because what are we going to say about it? Yeah. Helicopter crash. I'm sure you could read that for yourself.
Seems weird. Yeah. It'd be an easy segment. Be about a minute and a half. Yeah. Fun fact, here in Canada, we refer to as Jay-Z as JZ. Interesting, His Highness. Thank you. My real name says Keaton. It's much easier, believe it or not, to find new music on YouTube. Interesting. I find new and interesting stuff all the time. Not on the Taylor Swift Vivo page, however. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I never even thought of that, but YouTube is probably a good place to find stuff.
You know what? Let me plug it. We are taking song submissions, and next week, starting next week on the intermission, we're going to play those song submissions. We're going to play one each week.
Yes, indeed.
So if you have a song to submit it. We are duedissidents@gmail.com.
Indeed. Eric Husso, did you see the Chris Hedges interview on strike? No, I just saw that happened before the show, so I will watch that one. That is Shama Sawant's channel, and he was their most recent guest. +1 for watching The Honeymooner, says my real name. Thank you very much for that. Cardi B loves FDR and Eleanor. Thank you, Nicholas Quiros. Appreciate that. Let's see. Philip Blair. Beyonce's dad is Destiny. She's Destiny's child. Ha ha. Good one. Good play on words. David Santucci. Thanks for the $20. Appreciate that. Russ, I've been watching some interviews with Gabriel Rockhill lately. He's somebody who's done some work on the CIA-funded pseudo-left Congress of Cultural Freedom stuff. Maybe you could have him on. Gabriel Rockhill is the name. Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
That's kind of my extra credit research right now.
Yeah, interesting. Philip Blair, thanks for the $5. Oh Palestine, original song by Staten Watkins. Song recommendation. Thank you for that, Philip Blair.
Honestly, Philip, if you feel that strongly, send us a link.
Yeah,
send us a link. Put in the title, song submission.
Yep. I second Changu. Look up Sheng Chen Bao music video. Thank you, Millie. Appreciate that. Wow, got a lot of recommendations for this. DD, it's Straight Talk with Jangu as referred to the Taiwan Strait. Straight Talk, gotcha. Oh, got it. That was a typo the first time. Thank you, Truth Seeker. Appreciate that. Carpetbaggers just don't understand, says DC. Thank you, DC. All right, we're moving on. Oh, let's do Meme of the Week while we're paused here. Russell?
Yes. All right, Meme of the Week. Little humor, little tragic, dark, mordant humor. Old Dr. Seuss, very, very post-duopoly. Stop blowing up brown kids with my fucking tax money by Dr. Seuss. Fuck your candidate. The subtitle is what made it Meme of the Week. Fuck your candidate.
Fuck your candidate. Yeah, it's good. I didn't even see that until you just mentioned that. Yeah, that's a good one. Fuck your candidate. I like that. Okay, let's move on here. All right, folks. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the program. May 15th, which was last Wednesday, that was the anniversary of the Nakba, which was the, of course, forceful displacement of the Palestinian people from their land in 1948. There were a lot of marches to commemorate that event on the day itself, but obviously the weekend after there were going to be marches as well, and there was one in the now largely Arabic and Yemeni neighborhood of Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and the police made sure that did not gain as much momentum as it could have. New York police violently arrest pro-Palestine protesters marking the Nakba. This is from Al Jazeera. Police have beaten and arrested several demonstrators at a pro-Palestine protest in New York's Brooklyn in the latest crackdown on voices speaking against the war on Gaza in the United States. Protesters, gathered on Saturday in the Bay Ridge neighborhood in southwest Brooklyn, home to a large Muslim community, including people of Palestinian and Yemeni origins. The peaceful protest to mark the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in 1948, went on for several hours amid heavy police presence, with officers trying to prevent a march. So this is from Status Quo here. NYPD assaulted pro-Palestinian protesters during a ceasefire protest in Brooklyn, repeatedly beating and punching a man to the point of bloodying his face. Other officers aggressively shoved protesters. So here is an example of what the article talks about. This is John Farina with the video here in Bay Ridge. Look how they just grab him and throw him down. And they start wailing on him. I just want to play this one more time. I just want you to see they're not breaking up a fight. They're not doing anything. The guy's marching. He's holding the sign. Look at this. Go right up. Boom. Grab it. Look at that.
Yep. No. What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What is he doing?
They literally just went in and grabbed him out of the crowd and beat the shit out of him.
Yep. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We have not even scratched the surface here. Yet, here's another tweet from Peter Hambrecht. Okay, NYPD arrests credentialed press. So this is a journalist while covering a protest in Brooklyn. He was also arrested just a few weeks ago covering another protest. So this is a journalist named Josh Pacheco, I believe. I hope I got his name right. I'm 99.9% sure I got that. I should have written it down. But here is the video of a journalist with a press pass, clearly visible, right on their chest there. And here's this encounter. What are you doing, dude? You can see there's the press pass right there. Why are you even arresting me?
You about to take those off? Yo, OG, take those off.
Okay, now you say, well, he's a journalist with a press pass, but does that mean he wasn't up to something? Well, Jordan's guy there over at Status Quo had this exact incident filmed from a different angle where you can actually see them do to him what they did to the other protester, which is walk up, grab him out of a line at random, and cuff him. Here's the other angle. You could see this journalist. He's on the left-hand side of the screen right now. So if you look to the left-hand side of the screen, right to the left of the guy with the Yankee hat, the guy with the long hair, there he is walking. He's typing on his phone right now, okay? So just keep your eye to the left-hand side of the frame. He's walking, not doing anything. And there he goes. Grab him right out of the line.
He's pressed.
This other guy's got a camera. They grab him too. Look at this. Just start grabbing people at random. I've never seen anything like this.
Get back. Get inside. Chill.
And then here, they start wrestling people around on the sidewalk. Look at this. We got more. Let him go. NYPD randomly drag and snatch journalists and pro-Palestinian protesters at ceasefire protests in Brooklyn. So that's what we just saw there. If we go on, this was an example. So this is Josh Pacheco, who was the person we just saw. So that's him or them. I guess it's non-binary. He says it in his thing. I don't want to get accused of the wrong thing here. All right, so there.
I mean, I'm basically not talking because I'm so fucking furious watching this. I don't want to get us kicked off YouTube.
Well, I mean, yeah, who cares? I don't. Yeah, whatever. So, all right. So there's Josh. Now let's see the work that he or they were doing.
Somebody's cooking bacon next door. I smell bacon.
Yeah, right.
Smell some bacon.
Yeah. So let's see this. Okay, so here we go. So let's see the work that this journalist was doing in the field. So here's a tweet from Josh. Okay, an arrest not many saw. A teen was taken from the sidewalk, clearly new and unaware of the crackdown on amplified sound usage for chanting from his megaphone at a Captain Carlson's behest. He was terrified, confused. He kept asking, "What did I do wrong?" Nothing. You did nothing wrong. So there were restrictions on amplified sound. You weren't allowed to have a megaphone. Now, I've been to enough of these protests to know that 99 out of 100 times when you're doing something you're not supposed to do, and the cop sees a megaphone and you're not supposed to have it, they say, put that down, or maybe they'll take it from you. This is what they do to this kid who had a megaphone, not realizing that was against the rules that day. This is how they react. Look at this.
Whoa.
5 guys. Grab him. They didn't tell me. You hear what he's saying? Let me replay this. Can't have that. Grab him. 5 guys. What did I do? They didn't tell me.
Back up.
And they take him away in cuffs. So there was a kid, didn't know the rules. They get 5 guys on him and handcuff him. He says, they didn't tell me. I didn't know. He was willing to put it away. Like I said, okay, so look, I've been to a lot of protests. I spent a ton of time at Occupy Wall Street. There were skirmishes with the cops, not as many as the media said there were. In the encampment itself, there were almost none. European tourists would walk young children through that Occupy Wall Street encampment, as a leisure activity. Like there was no danger there. It was completely peaceful. There were, on occasion, mentally ill people, homeless people who were directed there because there was free food there. But even they were almost never a problem. I personally spent a lot of time there. I never witnessed a single violent encounter inside the encampment. When we marched, there were, on occasion, cops would try to do crowd control when there was a march, and someone would get up in the cop's face, don't tell me where to what, and then it would become a thing. That was it. You didn't have this level of hysteria at even the Occupy Wall Street protest or any anti-war protest. You always get a warning. You got a megaphone, the cop will always say, hey, get rid of that. I've never seen at a protest they come at you with 5 guys and cuff you without a warning, and the kid clearly says, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to have it. Like, this level of crackdown is just obscene, and it is what we expected we would see, because on this issue, no dissent is allowed. Now, back to the article, and then we have one more video to show. Protesters began to march in the street, and shortly after, the NYPD came in from a side street and started grabbing people at random, as we've seen several times already. Katie Smith, a freelance journalist who was at the scene, told Al Jazeera. So here is Al Jazeera's interview with Katie Smith about what she saw.
Tens of thousands of demonstrators gathered in major world cities to express their solidarity with the Palestinians and what's happening in Gaza. They want an end to this war. In New York, police there have arrested several protesters who were holding torches at a march in Brooklyn. Around 200 people were marching in this rally. There have been a series of demonstrations in more than 60 American college and university campuses. So let's bring in Katie Smith. She is a freelance journalist and joins us live via Skype from New York. Could you tell us what happened there today and why these arrests were made?
Hi. So it started out as a peaceful rally. People were gathering to demand not only a ceasefire in Gaza, but a free Palestine. And they gathered in Bay Ridge, which is a predominantly Palestinian and Yemeni American neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Okay, now I just want to pause it here for a second and I actually tweeted out a 10-second portion of this video this morning. Notice how when pro-Palestine activists say that they've been assaulted by cops, the news organization covering it always has B-roll to cut to support what they're saying because they're actually telling the truth. Whereas when the Zionists claim that they feel unsafe on college campuses because they're being harassed and assaulted or threatened, notice Dana Bash doesn't have any B-roll to cut to in the middle of her thing, right? That actually shows some supporting evidence to corroborate what she's saying.
Yeah, no, they're running around stabbing them in the eyes. And
Yeah. They say all this shit. They never show it. Here, notice they have the B-roll. They have the receipts ready to go.
and they began to rally for around 2 hours. During that time, the police presence was already heavy while the rally was stationary and peaceful. And a resident of a nearby apartment building put a speaker inside his apartment, opened the window so that protesters could use it. One of the tactics that NYPD has been using in recent months has been to crack down on sound amplified devices, things like speakers and megaphones, and to make arrests for that. And protesters were not allowed to use the speaker. So a resident put it in his window, and police ended up scaling the apartment building. 2 officers, they remained.
So this guy has a speaker in the window. Now, just so everybody knows how I did this video piece, Katie Smith, she has watermarked, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner. She tweeted this out. So I superimposed this onto the existing video. Al Jazeera did not broadcast this, but this is what she is talking about here. So a guy puts a speaker in his window, and the cops scale the fire escape.
Put it in his window,
and spend an
police
hour
ended up scaling the
there.
apartment building. 2 officers, they remained up there for around an hour and a half. This private building. As far as I know, they didn't get any permission to go up there. And after that, protesters began to march in the street. And shortly after protesters got into the street, NYPD came in from a side street and started grabbing people at random. They were tackled to the ground. As they were on the ground and being placed under arrest, often by multiple officers, officers were beating them, punching them in their upper body, around their head. And there were multiple waves of arrest throughout the march. And the march itself remained very peaceful. A lot of community support for the march. But the police repression was extremely high. One protester was even taken away with a bloody face. So it was an extremely brutal response by NYPD to what was a very peaceful protest.
And tell me, does it clear what happened to those who have been arrested? Has anyone been in touch with them? Has contact been allowed?
No contact has been allowed. They are being taken to police headquarters, which is in Manhattan. And there is a group of protesters that are going there to provide jail support for the people that have been arrested, and to also reach out to organizers if a family member or friend was arrested, and they will try and contact them as soon as they are released, but they're not allowed to have any contact until they are released.
Tell me more about the location, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. It seems...
Okay, that's all we have there. That's the end of that video. But there is the police response to a peaceful gathering turned into a peaceful march. You saw multiple examples. People just dragged out of the line, beaten up, thrown to the ground, handcuffed. A kid not knowing the rules. They sick 5 of these cops on him, drag him away. This is what you're up against here. You know, if you showed a protest crackdown like that in a communist country, you would say this is why we love our country. This is why we love America, right? Because in America, you have the right to protest, whereas in country X, Y, or Z, that we would show as an example of that kind of police crackdown on a peaceful demonstration, we would say, well, that doesn't happen here because we have a First Amendment. Apparently it does.
We value our freedom. Okay, so as the resident New York cop expert, because of the number of times I've been arrested, let me tell you what's going on here. Okay, so New York cops, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Whatever rights you think you have, you don't have those rights. Maybe you'll have those rights when you get in front of a judge.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't have those rights in the process of arrest.
In the moment. Right.
No. The first time I got arrested, I was 16. I broke it. I was guilty. I broke into a corporation building.
To steal a typewriter to write a play.
Yes, that's a true story. The last typewriter was the IBM electric typewriter with the ball, so you could get different languages and fonts. It was very steampunk, very analog, right? It was the last typewriter anyone wanted before they invented word processors. So that was like the shit. I saw it in the window, so I broke in.
Had to have
it. Like an idiot. Oh no, they don't have any fucking alarms in this corporation building. So anyway, so I get arrested, man. I was 16. I was a kid. They grabbed me, man. They smashed my head against the hood. They didn't read me any Miranda warnings. They fucking put the cuffs on 3 sizes too tight. They put me in the cell with the cuffs still on to break my balls for like 2 hours until it cut off my circulation. So that was the first time I took a pinch. And it taught me from that day to this, cops can do whatever the fuck they want. That shit that you see on Law and Order with the Miranda warning, they don't do that. Fuck. I'd been in custody for 3 hours before they read me a Miranda warning. I was in the cell by the time they read me a Miranda warning. Cops could do whatever they want. When me and Jose went and did that Rachel Maddow intervention, I was worried about getting arrested because Jose's talking about the rights that you have, but I don't know. I don't think he was a delinquent coming up, so I don't think he had as much encounters with the cops as I had. My attitude was if they want to arrest you, they're going to arrest you. Like yeah, you might have those rights in front of a judge. A judge might care more about those niceties. But if a cop wants to put you through the system just to break your balls, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to face any fucking disciplinary action. And if they decide to fucking throw you a beating, they're going to say you resisted arrest. Right. And there's going to be no consequences for them, I promise you. Now, when me and Jose did that with Maddow, and that was about a week after the first protest in Times Square that I also covered, at that time, the cops were being very accommodating. Especially, look, you're not like a street punk. You're like a protester. And as much as you might see that as the underdog in the underclass, and it is in a certain respect, or you're speaking out for that, that has a certain status. That has a certain cachet. They don't perceive you as like a punk, right? So you're being extended those niceties when they're not under pressure to perform, right? When they're not getting that pressure. Right. Now, cops, I've seen it again and again over my life. You can tell when the sergeant told them who to roust, who to break balls on. They get those orders. It's illegal, but they do. Believe me, they do. It came down from on high that they are to make these protesters not want to come out there again. Yes. Don't worry about who gets hurt. Journalists, fuck journalists. They didn't just decide to do this. Their sergeant told them, and the sergeant told them, this goes up to Adams. They would not go out in front of cameras and do this if they had not been told from on high it was okay. I agree. It is okay, because who's gonna do anything about it? You're talking about lawsuits. You're gonna have to sue, and that's gonna take years. Yep. But right now, they are trying to make people not want to protest. I am pretty damn sure if me and Jose, which, we could in the future, do something like the Maddow thing, we're going to get arrested. We weren't arrested that night, but I think they'll arrest us now. Those rules are out the window now.
Yes, because they're trying to create a chilling effect in a lot of major cities, but especially New York, which has been such a hotbed of protest activity. I mean, there have been campus protests throughout the country, but obviously Columbia was the highest profile example of that. NYU got quite a bit of news as well. And every week, multiple times a week, you have protest activity on the Manhattan Bridge. I still get the Notify NYC effects on my phone, even though I haven't lived in the city for 7 years. You have a lot of this stuff, as you should, but they do want to discourage people from taking part. And picking people out of a crowd at random is a good way to intimidate people against showing up. Right. Especially when you do it to journalists, but press, because now you're suppressing their First Amendment rights to A, practice their job, and B, get the word out to everyone else about what is going on there. I have a press pass.
Now, when I go cover it, I did assume that when I go with my press pass, I'm not going to get arrested. Now I don't know. I could.
No. And I'm so glad that John got that angle of the journalist just crossing the street, and they pick them right out. They pick them right out. They go right up to people who are doing nothing at all.
They got the order. They got the order.
Yep. It was just random.
Remember, Adams is a cop.
Adams
is a former Republican who became a Democrat to make it to smooth his political path. He did his 20 in the force.
He's a fascist. Eric Adams is a fascist. Eric Adams is not even. That's what we said when New York voted for Eric Adams. I said, Eric Adams, this isn't even about like shit liberty. He's not even a liberal. He's a fascist. He's a right-wing authoritarian fascist. That's who Eric Adams is. Biggest asshole in a city famous around the world for its assholes. They elect the biggest asshole in that city, the mayor. That's what I said at the time.
I will give him this. He is one funny motherfucker. That 9/11.
Yeah, he does have timing. Yes. Yeah.
Well, he's unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
Anything could happen in New York. A plane could hit.
It's the greatest city in the world. You never know what's going to happen. You can wake up and a plane can fly through your window. Yeah. Yeah.
You can wake up in a bathtub full ice without a kidney. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? That's life in the big city. His Highness, if any of you haven't seen Jim Jeffries' bit on gun control, check it out, or else Russ will rough you up. I have seen it. It's very, very funny. It's funny. That's an old bit. That's a really old one, but I do remember laughing a lot at that.
Is that the one where he says, "We all get sad sometimes"? Is that one, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, I think that's the one. It's funny that was so long ago. I don't even remember any specific lines. Usually the stand-up bits that I like, I have moments that I remember. But I do remember liking that one quite a bit. I can't wait, says Killdozer420, to vote Glenn Dumpkin out. He's been holding back recreational weed sales, which we voted for a few years now. Interesting. He's a Carlisle Group piece of shit. Yep. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Let's see. Here we go. Goba44, Immortal Technique, and Paris were two rap artists with brilliant commentary on the decaying U.S. empire. Yeah, Immortal Technique is great. We'll change your idea of rap. Check it out. Yeah, he put out a great song. I think Eminem was on one of his songs that he did, and Mos Def, they did a 9/11 song that was really good. Really, really good. I do remember that one.
When I hear like politically conscious rap that I like, I don't like it as a song. I like it as, okay, this is basically bebop poetry 3.0. Like, it's not really music to me. It's the old. It's taking the, they used to do the beat poetry with a trio. It's that.
I'm trying to think of the name of that song, the Immortal Technique song about 9/11. I know Eminem was on that. That was a really good one. MedWeb, looks like Joe ain't getting that wet ass pussy. Thank you. Appreciate that. No, not indeed. Ask Tusker the Marxist perspective on gun rights. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not against gun rights, but I don't think barring guns from mental institutions is unreasonable. Vetoes are consistent with legal precedent, aka
that
law.
Bitch told me she wouldn't do the show unless she could pack.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
She's gonna be packing heat at that fucking show.
Yes. Well, we don't have to hire security then.
That was
DC.
her thinking.
I got beat up by 5 cops for carrying a sign reading George Floyd and Sandra Bland didn't kill themselves, 520. They told us face the wall. I asked why. Wow. Yep. No thanks, app rock, says Ara. Thank you. Lars and Ruin, thanks for the 99 cents. Appreciate that very much. Why does the NYPD hate our Constitution? Good question, Philip Blair. No, they're fascists. They're fascists. People living with gun owners died by homicide at twice the rate of their neighbors in gun-free homes, driven largely by homicides at home, which are 3 times more common among people living with gun owners. Women living with gun owners, 50% more likely to die by self-deletion. See, I'm on my feet thinking there. Than their family neighbors in gun-free homes, and more than 4 times as likely to die by self-deletion than that involved use of firearms.
Yeah, see, this is somebody else. It was an Australian who did this bit. He was talking about the reasons not to have a gun in the house, and he said, well, another reason is we all get sad sometimes.
Yeah, the Jim Jeffries one was funny. The Jim Jeffries one was funny. I remember there was something he did a riff on, like when you need it in an emergency, if you have it packed away and you can't get to it in time. It was good stuff. Let's see here. Smell inside your nose. Thanks to the $5. Liberals are more dependent on the old racial tropes than Republicans. Republicans need more Dr. King and more Dr. King. Dems need more Dr. King and less Norman Lear. Joanne Patterson. Excuse me. Thank you for that. Smell inside your nose. Appreciate that.
I like that.
I love watching crazy right-wingers and shit libs rat fuck each other, but when you get down to it, it's still a distraction. Thank you, Ranger Biker. Yep. Appreciate that. Bonzo Beans, when DD live stunt show with flamethrowers, robo-dogs, cannons, guns, jeeps, dirt bikes, and lots of hot chicks wrapped in American flags. We need budget for that one. Indeed. China Shill, thanks for the $1. You see, there are people who believe the function of the police is to fight crime, and that's not true. The function of police is social control and protection of property. Michael Parenti. Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Old Stoner, the state wants everybody to see this. How else do you control the population if you don't show the power of the state? Yep. It's intimidation. Absolutely. Okay, this one is funny. Predatory, I pissed in the water fountain inside the 3rd precinct that had burnt down in Minneapolis because I needed to pee at the protest and the bathrooms were flooded. There you go. Congratulations. You should have called in and told us that story on the Q&A, Predatory.
You really should have. That's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. My real name, we will finally stop virtue signaling about our freedoms. Will we finally stop virtue signaling about our freedoms? Yeah.
The runner-up for meme of the week might make it in next week. Basically has that theme, showing it on freedom ranking. The U.S. is 17th.
Wow, interesting. Susanna, why are American police trained in Israel? Don't understand this at all. Thanks, Susanna. Appreciate that. Colombia hired Victoria Nuland. That should speak volumes to Earth. Well, they hired Hillary Clinton, too. Thank you, the amazing Blumpkin. Appreciate that. All right. Let's move on to segment number 5. So, folks, we're friends with Jose Vega.
Segment 5.
Yeah, we're friends with Jose.
What's the deal with segment 5?
What's the deal with this segment? Folks, we're friends with Jose Vega, who made popular the intervention, and we're seeing a lot of these, and I am thoroughly convinced, not just because he's a friend of ours, that the reason you're seeing a lot of these is largely because of him and the work that he did and the fact that he went viral time after time. We didn't see too many of these before his intervention on AOC went viral, but we're seeing them now. And it was only a matter of time before we got some video of an intervention on Jerry Seinfeld's show. So this was in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, these guys did their best. They did a great job. Credit to them. Power to them. Video work could have been a little better, but that's all right. First time. All credit to them, of course. But here is Jerry Seinfeld's show about Pop-Tarts, assumedly being interrupted by some protesters.
My wife's addition to my show this evening.
Save the children of Gaza!
So they started rolling probably after the intervention started. And when Jerry Seinfeld says, this is my wife's contribution to the show this evening, he's talking about the fact that his wife bankrolled that organization that paid the Zionist agitators to go and violently attack the UCLA encampment, right? So, sorry, we'll play this. I just wanted to add that context.
This is my wife's addition to my show this evening.
Save the children of Gaza! No more American tax dollars for genocide!
Shut up!
Save the children of Gaza!
Shut up! Shut up and get out!
I'm a genocide supporter!
These Zionists are such disgusting creeps.
You should be ashamed of yourself! You should all be ashamed! Get up. How dare you support genocide?
Hey! We want to hear jokes about cereal.
Let go of him. Go over there. You're ruining for everybody else. Go. Get go. Genocide supporter!
This was right at the moment he was about to get into his bit about why do they have both 2% and 1% milk. If you're going to have reduced fat milk, just split the difference at 1.5. Why do you need 2% and 1%? Why make it more complicated? I paid $175 to hear that joke, and you're ruining it with your peace protest.
Why can't you eat milk with meat?
Yeah, right.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, exactly.
And that.
Oh my God. What are you doing?
children of Gaza!
This was another one.
Still the children of Gaza! Open your eyes!
All right, I'm going to keep going. Save the children of Gaza.
See, that's a real fucking shitbag move to just like say that so sarcastically and flippantly. Save the children of Gaza.
This fucking scumbag douchebag.
Yeah. Notice though, I'll toss you in a second.
yeah,
I just want to point out because we saw in the video. Notice they're roughing up those protesters. Like the state is going to start getting more violent about this because they're getting sick of this. They're getting fed up with this because we're winning. So they're going to start cracking down more.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is. Like history doesn't repeat itself; it rhymes, right? I mean, this is very evocative of the Vietnam era. That is the last time you had this kind of mass youth uprising against state militarism, and they handled it exactly the same way, violently. Violent crackdowns, unreasonable arrest, eventually unreasonable search and seizures, black bag jobs. The FBI used to break into people's houses and gather evidence. You know, and then later on, when things quieted down and the state felt more secure in its power, then they said, oh, we'll dismiss the charges. The FBI shouldn't have done that. But at a moment when they feel threatened, you don't have those rights. All that shit goes out the window. They'll make a nice PBS special about it in 20 years when it doesn't matter anymore. Oops, sorry.
Right. Exactly. Well done there on the part of those protesters. Good for them. It was only a matter of time.
We are keeping an eye out for him to come to New York.
Yeah, we'll see if we can afford tickets to protest him there. At the very least, we should, have a picket outside. Now that we've been organizing, like we got about 50 people to show up when we organized for Jose, maybe we should just do a street protest right outside the venue. Why not?
It's an idea.
Why not? Because he plays New York a decent amount. I mean, that's his hometown. So yeah, no, you should. And the whole fucking thing, save the children of God. He strikes me. See, the thing about Jerry that is almost especially infuriating is that he strikes me as a guy who's not political, who doesn't really care about this stuff. He assumes that because he's Jewish, his loyalty must be to Israel. And that's the worst message you could possibly put out there, because it's this just laziness about, well, I'm Jewish, I'm connected to the struggle of being Jewish, and so I feel I have to support Israel. Meanwhile, you got your wife funding these violent agitators with Bill Ackman to go and attack protesters, and this guy is just aloof to it all. Oh, yeah, it's all, the world's just a big, petty joke to him. With $1 billion in the bank, not a care in the world, doesn't have the curiosity to actually have a political thought. He knows what he's supposed to think. He takes that for granted. Just the shallowness of it is just despicable. And the irony is, of course, his show is a celebration of the shallow, showbiz type. Right? He played himself as a shallow, superficial man whose only concern was, what kind of cereal am I going to pick out of the cupboard that morning?
Somebody said Jerry's kids. I thought they were talking about my ex.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
He's a real fucking special piece of shit, and he is what his show was. His show was about terrible, narcissistic people. He's a terrible, narcissistic person.
Yeah.
How did Jerry? I mean, is it because he's a foaming at the mouth Zionist? How did he not get Me Too'd? At 40 years old, he met a 17-year-old in Central Park and started dating her. How did he skate?
Well, I mean, that is legal. 17 is the age of consent in New York.
Actually, 18.
No, 17. Go look it up. It's not.
Are you sure it's 16?
You're wrong. Yes, 17.
Oh, it's still, well, I mean, point stands.
It's still creepy.
I mean, it's legal, but
it's creepy. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I mean, it is just a real disappointment.
Woody and Sun Yi was legal.
That's true. Well, yeah, obviously it's Me Too'able. But yeah, for sure. Christos.
And how do you know this much about the age of consent in New York?
I happen to know it. Yeah, it's a hell of a...
you happen to know it. Okay.
No, I know. I looked it up because he's in the news.
We'll talk on the changeover.
Yeah. No, I looked it up because he's in the news and people are bringing that up now. So I checked it. Yeah, indeed. Christos, police won't kill protesters. Thanks for the $2. Appreciate that. Philip Blair, the more violent cops are, the more people will be infuriated and join the protest. This is what happened in Seattle and Portland. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate that. Why can I not write robo-dogs on the super chat? Are they suppressing robo-dogs? Are they out to squash the robo-dogs?
Really?
I don't know.
We're going to buy one for the show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Long Island Audit is fighting NYPD in court for violating city, state, and federal law, allowing press video recording in police stations. NYPD don't give a crap about the law. Thank you, Aspen Fallen. Keep shaming the Zionists. It's not normal to steal people's land and kill them for resisting. Of course. Thank you.
I mean, the problem is it has been historically normal. We need to change that.
Exactly. Jerry Seinfeld, I thought this genocide was about nothing, says Eric Crusoe. Appreciate that.
Now, that's the sketch we should do at the show.
It's
a genocide about nothing.
This is what we should do. My real name, Russ, tell me what you really think about Jerry Seinfeld. Happy to fly to NYC to help you protest. We should get a permit and organize a protest. Why not? I think that's the best way to go. All right, we got some more super chats that we'll get to. Here, I'll do another Robo-Dog super chat. The Robo-Dogs are making a revival appearance tonight. Robo-Dogs will take out if ordered to, but a cop will think twice. Thank you. Irish Israel ambassador at Famine Memorial today. Interesting. Is that the Famine Memorial where? In Ireland or in New York? There is an Irish Famine Memorial Park in New York now, in Battery Park City.
That is probably the best memorial in New York. In my
the
opinion.
Irish Famine one?
In conception and execution,
yeah. Yeah, that's in Battery Park City, right near the mall there. Alrighty, let's go on to our final segment of the night. Reminder, folks, we will be going to Rumble for our post-show Q&A, so you can go to dudissidents.com/Rumble. That's a redirect link that Jake made for us. Round of applause for Jake in the chat tonight, doing a fantastic job. dudissidents.com/Rumble. We'll be going over there for our post-show Q&A after this final segment of the night. All right, folks, this is my favorite story of the night. This is, talk about ending on a high note. This is an inspiring segment here. Pro-Palestinian student protesters celebrated for moral clarity at the People's graduation. So this made Time magazine. College students risking school discipline for their pro-Palestinian activism were celebrated by peers and supporters for their moral clarity at a church across the street from Columbia University on Thursday. Faculty and staff from Columbia and Barnard College helped organize the People's graduation at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. Hundreds of students, mostly from the two schools, attended. So did some others from New York University, the City University of New York, and Parsons School of Design. Now, the cathedral they're talking about there, St. John the Divine, biggest church in the city, absolutely massive, beautiful building that if you go to the city, you should definitely put on your list of things to see. St. Patrick's is the most famous one, and St. Patrick's is obviously gorgeous. But the size and scale of this church is just incredible. So they got a huge venue right near the campus, and they had a graduation ceremony for the pro-Palestinian protesters. Hours before the People's graduation began, the Arts and Sciences faculty at Columbia University passed a vote of no confidence, in University President Manoush Shafiq. The resolution criticized her for an unprecedented assault on students' rights after she invited police on campus twice to arrest protesting students. More than 60% of the 709 professors voted to express no confidence in Shafiq. 29 voted against it, and 6 abstained. So a landslide vote amongst the actual faculty for no confidence in their president. Columbia University had canceled its larger official commencement gathering earlier this month, citing security concerns, and was not involved in organizing the people's graduation. They still held smaller celebrations grouped by the type of school. Nearly 17,000 graduates celebrated in these ceremonies over the past week, according to the university. Barnard held a commencement ceremony Wednesday. Some students, including Student Government Association President Mariam Sissoko, who gave a speech, spoke out in favor of advocating for Gaza at the event. Shayoni Mitara, a senior lecturer at Barnard College's theater department who helped organize Thursday's ceremony, says staff wanted the event to provide students a space of refuge. She said that there are currently about 200 active disciplinary hearings for students at Columbia and Barnard based upon self-reported crowdsourced numbers. Thursday's event, meaning the people's graduation, was often celebratory and jubilant as speakers praised students for their commitment to justice and for sparking a global movement of pro-Palestinian encampments. This kind of solidarity immortalizes Palestine forever, said Palestinian-American Rahman Badran, who was chosen as the official student speaker at the event in a speech. It was a stark contrast to how Shafiq has described protests. Yes, after students' occupation of Hamilton Hall, she wrote in a May 1st statement, this drastic escalation of many months of protest activity pushed the university to the brink, creating a disruptive environment for everyone and raising safety risks to an intolerable level. Once again, not one of the NYPD, who we saw in a previous segment, going out cracking people's heads for no reason. Not one cop cited a single violent incident at this encampment or the occupation. Yep. But many student protesters said police conduct is what made them feel unsafe. The NYPD did not immediately respond to a request for comment about allegations of violent conduct. The ceremony closed with a performance from a group of student protesters who started playing together after meeting at the encampment. This is a song that many of you know intimately from many protests, said one of the singers before starting. It was the same song that student protesters sang when they first occupied Hamilton Hall and when police arrested them. So here they are performing this song. You'll get an idea of the kind of kids these are, the kind of song they sing. They do it really, really well in the venue. And this really encapsulates the vibe of the whole event. So this song is called Where You Go, and we're going to hear a piece of it now.
This while we were being arrested in the first one, when we were
Your people are my people, our struggles align. What violent, hateful people. What a, look at the difference between the way these guys were covered in the press and what they actually represent. Just a beautiful ceremony, packed house, great song, great tune. I actually looked up that song. It's a great song. And really, really just extremely well done. So congratulations to them from us and also from this journalist in Gaza. Here she is expressing her gratitude for the students at Columbia.
Hello to all the students in Columbia University. This is Hind Khudari from Gaza, currently in Al-Aqsa Hospital, and I have been reporting everything since the first day. I have been on the field and I saw you guys protesting, risking your education, and risking everything eventually. I totally appreciate every single person of you. I'm so proud of you, and you gave us hope that was never going to, like, we never imagined that anyone is gonna ever give us hope the way you guys did. Keep protesting. We are still being bombed, we're still being killed. Keep raising the voice of the voiceless Palestinians, and hopefully I'll see you one day soon when all of this ends.
Wow.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful job. Congratulations to all the graduates of the People's Graduation. So great that they were able to make that happen. And it's so important, I feel, to do a segment like this, to share a segment like this when we drop the video. Please share all the clips and all the photos from this, because Occupy Wall Street had the same PR problem. They were smeared as these violent malcontents in the press, and when you went to the encampment, they were not violent. It was fine. You had tourists walking their children around those encampments, not American tourists. The American tourists were walking their kids around the fucking M&M store, right? But like European tourists took their kids to Occupy Wall Street. It was fine. It was totally safe. And so the default opinion about these protests in America is, well, what's going on the campuses? It's scary. It's weird. These weirdo kids with their tent. That's what it is. That's the vibe there. I mean, look at these amazing people here. This is it. Like that's just a perfect song choice. The song is called Where You Go, by the way, and you can look it up. It's on all of the streaming services. It's on YouTube. You can find it. And apparently their cover, I thought their cover was great, but it wasn't good enough to flag the YouTube copyright flagger, so we were able to play it for you. So good, I guess, on that. Just what a bunch of great kids.
They're covering a published song. It's not an original song that came out.
It's a published song. Came out in 2018. I'll find the artist, because there are a few different songs called Where You Go, but I'll find it on the break, and I'll post the information on the Rumble thing. And I'll post it when we put this video out as its own clip.
More broadly, in terms of the cultural narrative, we were getting into this a little bit with Chairman Yeshitela. If you look at the way political dissidence is represented in our culture, in our storytelling, at best, it's misguided and naive. And at worst, it's dark and violent and not what it's made out to be. Bane is a very good example in Dark Knight Rises, right? Bane talks a lot of populism, a lot of economic redistribution, and he's a sadistic madman who's going to kill everybody. And he needs a fascist billionaire to come beat the shit out of him to save Gotham. Our entire culture is rife with those stories. And with Yeshitela, I was talking about in regards to all of these films about the 60s, which they began to do even then with movies like Alice's Restaurant, showing this failed communal experiment at the end, where the buffalo roam. They grafted that on, even though it doesn't have any analog in Thompson's actual writing. One gets the impression he quite enjoyed that period and was not disillusioned by the thing. He was disillusioned by what society turned into. He was not disillusioned by those movements themselves. That became a standard narrative across the universe. Has that narrative. Forrest Gump has that narrative. It's a cliche of movies about that period that it turns out they're building bombs and the naive protagonist didn't realize how violent it was. And really, yeah, sure, there are things like that. But most people who get involved in peace movements, imagine they're peaceful. Most people who are anti-war are anti-violence. They're not going to be all that inclined to be violent. But that narrative not only takes place in the moment, in the way it's covered journalistically, more broadly, they create a narrative around moments like that to discourage people from joining countercultural movements and to make them cynical about what they really are and what their intentions are.
Yes. That's very well said, and I just want to put this up on the screen here because I did find it. The name of the song is called Where You Go by Shoshana Jedwab. I hope I'm saying that last name right, but that's the recording. There are a lot of different songs called Where You Go, but if you want to find that one, go look that up. Great song, really inspiring moment there, so congratulations to the people's graduation. All right, we're going to take some Rumble rants and Super Chats, and then we are going to close the lights on the stream and go to Rumble for the Q&A. So if you want to head over there now, you can. It's dudissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you right over to this current stream if you want to hang out with us for the Q&A after party. Let's go to some Rumble rants here. AJMQL1. Biggest donor to APAC, $11 million, is Leonid Radvinsky and spouse owner of OnlyFans. Oh, wow. $90 million. Oh, man, so even the OnlyFans perverts come from the same cloth. Also, can protesters sue NYPD and state? Thoughts?
Yes.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they should be able to. Yes.
They should. They should, absolutely.
And that's all on video. But like I said, that takes years.
Yep.
They only care about destroying this movement now.
Yeah.
They'll pay out the millions later. Fine. It's over by then.
Jake was kind enough to put the website of the songwriter on here. So if you want to check her out, you can go over there. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. Bonzo Beans, these times called for Fables of Phoebus by Charles Mingus. All right. Thanks, Bonzo Beans. Appreciate that. EJ Imagine, by the way, Irish famine was a genocide. Thank you, EJ. Aspen Fallen, thanks for the $1. Shayoni has been on RBN with Professor Zinka. She's based AF. Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah, we got to get some of these protesters on the show for sure. No doubt about that. Excuse me, Bonzo Beans. We have chosen to be powerless criminals in a time of criminal power. We have chosen to be branded as peace criminals by war criminals. The Catonsville 9 burning draft papers, May 17th, 1968. Thank you for that, Bonzo Beans.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Okay. Piano practice, way more fun during DD. Thank you. Well, enjoy your practice. Thank you, Marissa. Appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Nina can smells bullshit. Training U.S. cops in Israel tells me they are training them to do the same to us.
Yep.
I can't think of any other reason why. Yes,
that is a point Chris Hedges has always made, that what they do overseas is a training run for what they're going to do to you.
Right. Exactly. Darren, thanks for the $10. Carlin observed the political and social milieu. Seinfeld observes milk. Yeah, just not funny. Thank you, Darren.
Everybody's taking down your boy.
I know. Well, I thought the show was much better than his stand-up comedy. I've always felt that. Like we said, I said that Larry David and Jerry, they were like the Lennon and McCartney of TV, you know.
Oh yeah,
good,
our comments about Paul got a lot of Macca fans upset.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, Paul is a great craftsman, just as Jerry Seinfeld is a great craftsman. I don't take that away from him. Martin R, thanks for the $4.99, appreciate that. Gray Ghost, thanks for the $5 super sticker, appreciate that. Famine Memorial with Israel ambassador was in Ireland. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, the one in New York, they just built it like fairly recently, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
A little more than that.
What's that?
More than that, I think.
Oh,
a little more. But yeah, it's relatively new.
Philip Blair. Oh yeah, that's right, because it was back when I was doing tours. Join the protest, become a millionaire, says Philip Blair. Thank you, Philip Blair. Appreciate you very much. All right, Jake, you remember how we're doing this? Tonight we're going to try something a little different tonight. Russell put together a little throwback intermission reel for you all. So please head over.
Have a little fun with it.
DuDissidents.com/Rumble. We will see you over there for the Q&A if you want to come hang out with us. If not, we'll see you back here Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're also going to be guesting on our friend Savage Joy's show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I'll tweet out the link to that when I have it. But thank you guys very much for being here. Thank you to Jake in the booth for being here. Appreciate all of you. We got a big crowd tonight on YouTube and on Rumble. 3919 over there already. So come hang out with us. Patrons, paid Substackers, paid Locals members. You got call-in access. Phone lines are now open. You are free to call in. in. Kuznetsky, thanks for the $4.99 super sticker. Appreciate that very much. We'll see you guys over on the Q&A if you want. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. Otherwise, we'll see you at 2 p.m. this Tuesday with most likely Anya Parampil. I think that is 90% confirmed. We just got to make finally sure before we promise you. But looks like we're going to have Anya Parampil Tuesday and then Jeremy Lafredo Wednesday. Very gray zone week this week. We're getting gray zoned out this week. So great time with you all tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll see you guys all on Rumble for the Q&A. Until then, be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.